Hello everybody, welcome back to Crewsgarden. So this episode is based off of cross-pollinating vegetables. I told a friend of mine a story once that I went to a garden center and at this garden center there were some very unhappy customers that were trying to return starter plants. And the reason being is that their squash plants smelt spicy. What had happened is this garden center placed their spicy pepper plants next to their squash plants. And when the pollinators came in with the pollen, it crossed over and sent different genetics into the squash plants, which created spicy squash. And how that works is one of two ways. You have, for squash plants, most of you know, you have a male and a female flower. And it's relatively the same for most vegetables, not always. A bee or a fly or butterfly can go to the flower of a pepper plant, get the pollen, land into a male squash plant flower, or let me rephrase this, okay? It will go to the male flower of a squash plant. After that, it will obviously hit up a female flower, pollinate it, and then the female flower will start to grow a squash. But because of the spicy pepper pollen genetics, you get a spicy squash. Now it can work that way from the pepper plant to the male flower of the squash plant to the female, or it can go any zigzag where it goes from the male flower of the squash plant to the pepper plant back to the female flower of the squash plant. And if you like zucchinis, this is one of the zucchinis that I've been growing. I harvested this yesterday. Some of them got to hand out to the neighbors. Because if you grow zucchinis, you know that when they get going, they really get going. So the best way to avoid this happening is if you have a greenhouse, or if you want to keep them, your pepper plants indoors near a window, or keep them a good couple yards, feet, meters, however big your property is, away from your squash plants. Best way to do it, unless you're going to completely isolate it, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. All right. If they're going to go spicy because you've got an abundance of hot pepper plants, a bee's going to go for miles. It can go from your front yard to the backyard, side yard, whatever. The only other way to do it without having spicy peppers is to put some kind of bug net over it, but then you're not getting pollinated peppers unless you do it manually. And by doing it manually, you get a paintbrush from like your dollar store, and you literally paint the flowers with the pollen. You get your paintbrush, go inside the flower, move it around, go to the next flower, and just go over all the flowers and then cover it up with a screen, and they're pollinated. You can pollinate flowers manually. You don't have to have pollinators. I do that with my apple trees, my pear trees, because it's a guarantee that I'm going to have apples and pears, especially since they blossom very early in spring before a lot of the pollinators wake up from their hibernation during winter. So if you're wondering what's behind me, I've got some cayenne peppers, habanero, jalapeno or jalapeno, however you'd like to pronounce it. I've got scorpion peppers and ghost peppers. Hey, Charlie. This is my dog, Charlie. Oh, Charlie is a Boston Terrier. She's a special needs pup because she can't hear. She was born deaf, but she's great. And she's very smart. And she loves to eat all my vegetables, except for the tomatoes. She usually attacks the beans and peas. And she likes to be on camera. And then I got Maverick, who's her older brother. He's a Boston as well. He's sleeping right now. I'm sure you'll see him on video one day. So anyways, if you have any questions about cross-pollinating flowers or how to manually do it, if you'd like a demonstration, if you've had this experience with spicy squash before, or if you've experienced with other vegetables other than squash becoming spicy from hot pepper plants, tell me about it. I'm sure that everyone who's watching would like to hear about it. If you want to see me do some live streams and answer some questions, let me know. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, and I'll see you next time.